Hi. We have to do verstanden.
Ja.
So, first of all, ich werde einmal auf Deutsch starten, weil alle, die Mitglied sind, eben Deutsch sind gerade. Und dass der Stammtisch aufgezeichnet wird, dass alle Bescheid wissen, auch schon mal dazu geschriebene Person. Und genau, das ist ein Vortrag vom spirituellen Stammtisch, der vom Verein Hand in Hand gehört. Und der Vortragende ist Toni Gilges, 4. Juli 2023. Und Toni Gilges ist von Grundberuf Ingenieur, aber dann auch Forscher der Spiritualität und Esoterik. Er ist Mitglied des Vorstands einer ägyptischen Gesellschaft für spirituelle Studien, Autor von 2 Büchern und vielen Artikeln und Meditationsleiter sowie auch hat er seine eigene Heilmethode erfunden. Genau, in diesem Vortrag geht es um die doppelte Natur des Menschen. Das heißt, der Mensch zwischen dem Physischen und dem Geistigen. Und er wird außerdem behandeln die Materie als Projektion, die Schöpfungsgeschichte aus esoterischer Sicht und die östliche Esoterik und wie wir die Spiritualität mehr in unser Leben integrieren können. Und am Schluss folgt dann eine Diskussion, bei der aber alle Fragen gestellt werden können, die ihr habt. Genau. Und das insgesamt dauert 1,5 bis 2 Stunden. Thank you very much. And now it's going to be in English, and I give word to Toni Gilges.
Okay. Thank you, Camilla. Actually, I'd like to thank Hand in Hand Association to give me this chance to have a wonderful meeting, I hope, with all of you. Thanks, Camilla, again. And we shall today speak about a very important spiritual idea, which is the dual nature of man. Okay, at the beginning, we actually now have this
being recorded.
Okay, please, everyone is mute. Okay, thank you. Nowadays, actually, we are having a very complicated life, very materialistic one. In this materialistic life, we should actually revive something, we call it a spiritual compass, a spiritual attitude. This compass and this attitude should be attained by understanding the main issue, the main difference between materialistic life and spiritual life, and how the man is actually the link between spiritual world or spiritual realm and materialistic realm. So for understanding this, we're going today speak about this nature. It's the nature of man, which actually gather 2 realms, spirit realms and materialistic realm. In this lecture, we have outline. I'm going to share it now, just a minute. Okay, everyone see these documents? Is it shown to you? Okay. So our lecture is the dual nature of man. We have some outlines which we're going to cover this important subject. First, what is the concept of spiritual and physical nature? Then we're going to discuss the form matter as a projection and manifestation. The story of creation from an esoteric perspective, the concept of spiritual compass, the concept of blessing from the East, and this is a very important topic. If we have time, we're going to actually cover 2 other points, which is advanced ethereal sciences and what do we need to raise awareness to transform into a spiritual way of life. So let us begin with our first point, which is the concept of spiritual and physical nature. if we'd like to speak about the concepts of spiritual and physical nature, we should actually study physics, because a lot of us ignore that spirituality is advanced science. It's a science of movement, science of fields, science of feeling, which is already physics. So everything is physics. And physics itself is simply a manifestation or a language, an interpretation of this spiritual being. So if we begin with physics, we find the following. We find that any subject, any particle, have two nature, have two form, have two equations. First is about the matter. It's physics of matter, gravity of it, the molecules of it, and how these molecules are related with bonds, and how we can actually measure this figure physically by mass, volume, pressure. All of this related to the physical prospect of the subject. But when the subject have power, have energy, suddenly the subject move. When the subject move, we have time and distance. With time and distance, we have velocity, speed. And with this speed, we have something amazing. We call it the wave nature or frequency nature. So physics tell us actually that there is two realms or two worlds or two equations to any subject. The first equation is related to its mass, to its presence, to its existence in this fiber, which we call it space-time fiber. But at the same time, there is another nature. This nature is a wave nature, frequency. So if we have a wonderful lake, this lake I throw stone, we can see that this stone have something like frequency, like tides. This frequency and tides represent what we call it fields, the fields of presence of this subject. So if physics tell us about that, tell us we have two natures, we have two principles. The principle of physics, which actually try to describe perfectly the presence of this subject, and another equation which represents its speed, represents its fields, represents its ability. And here we have something very, very important. We have a genuine ability coming from hidden source. So we need to understand what is this hidden source? Where is this hidden source? What is the difference between this subject, this stone, which is fixed and have double nature or have this dual nature, and the man? The most important difference between the man and this subject, something we call it consciousness. So this universe is made on different rules. Maybe in the future we're going to discuss about these different rules, which is already gathered in the Kabbalion and gathered also in Hermetic teaching, esoteric teaching, which is speaking about Thoth and how Thoth and Hermes Trismegistus, as a reincarnation of him, make a summary of these concepts, like duality, like reflection, like polarity, like frequency. We'll see all of this stuff in the future. But now we should study this concept, which is very important. So to understand this concept in form of man, we should actually understand that this triangle. I'm going to share this triangle now. I hope the picture would be appeared. Just a minute. Okay. This triangle is very important. So when we're speaking about duality, we're speaking about this materialistic universe. We have 2 points. We have 2 poles. These poles and these points are matter and spirit. As you can see, the matter and spirit are in the opposite direction. And they are actually the points of this bottom straight line of this triangle. You can see it. So it is impossible to gather matter and spirit. They are always in contradiction. They are always in a dual form or a dual relation. So we need another point. And this point, third point, is consciousness. Consciousness is this ability to make a relation and to make a harmony between 2 poles, matter and spirit. So, in all schools of spirituality, modern spirituality and ancient spirituality, we can see a very mystic sentences. Now we can understand this mystic sentence. The very first sentence we can see at actually the doors of temple. The doors of temple. Know yourself by the self. What is the meaning of this sentence? To be honest, first of my experiments and first of my researches, I tried to understand this sentence in a logical way. But I failed because this sentence have more than that, more than logic. Actually, this sentence opens the door to another logic. A very strange logic and very mystic logic, which can combine spirituality and materialistic and make us understand the esoteric teaching in the perfect way. So let us begin with this sentence. Know yourself, me. Know mean gnosis, mean gnostic, mean understanding, mean wisdom, mean feeling, mean experiencing. So I am experiencing myself by the self, by myself. How it could be? How myself can explain myself? Oh, so there is something else here in this sentence, and very important. Here is this sentence actually show you that you are not your knowledge. You are not your data. You're not a hard disk. You are not even your experience. So what is you? You is a state of consciousness which have the ability to understand. And there is a great difference between you as understanding and you as the ability itself. So, consciousness for esoteric teaching and temples, all temples, is something related to life, not related to your mental ability. Because your mental ability is simply based on illusion, based on a logic you already made in a subjective way. How you can join the subjective concept with the objective concept. If you have the ability to experience life in a true way, you will have a new intelligence. We call it the intelligence of life itself. And if you have this intelligence of life itself, at this case, you will going to make something, call it presence. And when you enter your presence, you will have this intelligent, which you can combine matter and spirit. So consciousness is a very important phase of your spirit, which can gather this rhythm of matter and spirit. Let us dig a little bit more in this wonderful word, consciousness. A lot of us actually didn't know that this consciousness is divided into multiple layers. So let us see layers of consciousness. We have actually 4 layers of consciousness. The first bottom layer, we call it subconscious. And subconscious until now is not a defined definition, do not have a solid definition. Even psychological actually researches, a lot of psychological researchers try to understand or try to gather what is the meaning of subconscious. Maybe I'm a little bit close to the work of Carl Jung. Carl Jung is a very important person and very enlightened, was trying to understand or trying to define this monstrous, very beastie level of conscious, which you call it subconscious. And there is actually a wonderful book, if anyone interested, called The Red Book. This is a very important book to understand how Carl Jung tried to understand symbols of esoteric knowledge in different concept and very important concept. Anyway, so what is simply subconscious? Subconscious is simply this primitive nature of man. So anyone work with computer, of course we all work with computer. Computer have something we call it stored program. This stored program is simply the core of all programming. This core programming use a very primitive language. Could be assembly language, could be binary language, and this language is not shown to you. Now I'm speaking with a wonderful person in a PC. This PC have figures, I have a voice, and all of this is, there's a lot of colors, a lot of figures, but I cannot see the main language of this computer, the main language of this machine. The main language of the mankind is simply stored in subconscious. So subconscious stored program for nerve, subconscious stored program for organizing all materialistic thing in the matter of man, all hormones, all nerves and pulses, understanding the beat of heart, understanding the meaning of cell and tissues, understanding all different of chemicals, which is already done in the man. So the subconscious stored a very important program. This important program are something we call it the autopilot of the man. If the man have no conscious, he will going to live. This living is supported by these little programs. In the higher level of subconscious itself, there is another beast, there are other monsters. We call it anger, we call it power, we call it force, we call it emotions. All of these programs are doing well in a self mode, in an autopilot mode. But this beast needs a beauty. What I'm saying now is this wonderful Walt Disney movie, The Beauty and the Beast. This movie actually explains everything, really explains everything. The Beast is a wonderful prince, but he cannot see his beauty and need hope, need a wonderful girl, and need to protect his rose. His rose is the core of his soul. And the one who protects the core of the soul is the beast. And the beauty girl is simply the divine. The divine which can help this beast to have another form, to have the form of the prince. So this is the subconscious. Subconscious is you, without any makeup. Your anger, your starvation, all of subject which is already related to the man who know nothing. He just programmed to do so. For this reason, all anger and all situation we have in our life simply go to subconscious. Why it is go to subconscious? Because subconscious actually is a food, is the real estate, the real food level, which it can feed all of these beasts. In our esoteric knowledge and in our esoteric tradition, it is very important not to enter your subconscious until you are ready. And to be ready, you must know yourself by yourself. So this is a sentence for actually alert, for not going to subconscious unless you have enough tools. You become gentleman, gentlewoman. To enter this realm, this is very important. The second level of conscious is conscious, normal conscious. And here we're speaking about awareness. Speak about this intelligence, which you can relate it to a logical program. This logical program, we can have it from social circles or special education. We can have it from our schools. We can have it from our families. We're having our academies. And according to this conscious, we are now aware of our existence and the rules. And this rules is very materialistic and very logical. The third level of consciousness, this is very important, what we call it super conscious. So we have subconscious, which is the main program of the man. And we have conscious, which is related to our five senses and related also to our culture, religion, social relation, all of this stuff. And we have another level, we call it super conscious. In super conscious, we have a contact with something else. We are not having contact with each other. We're having a contact with what we call it I am, or the higher self. And the higher self is simply something like you. It's you, actually. There is no difference between you and your higher self. The difference is time and experience. If you have enough time to live million years, you're going to experience a lot of stuff, which will change your personality, change your mind, change your perspective, change you totally, but it is the same, you. I always actually recommend a wonderful movie called Interstellar. I think you need to watch it. It's a very important movie, and I think it is based on esoteric science, it's based on esoteric knowledge. The main character of this movie, when he leaves Earth and try to find help from extraterrestrial intelligence, he found the following. He found at the edge of the dark hole, the help he would have is help from himself, nothing more. Help yourself. The higher help is from myself, yes. It's you, but in different time. It's you, but with different conscious. It's you, but after having this experience of experiencing many dimensions. So if you reach another dimension with more experience, with more time, I'm not speaking about now, I'm speaking about yourself in the future. So this self in the future need the help of his father. And who is the father of the higher self? The father of the higher self is you now. Oh, this is very complicated, but it's very simple at him. So the higher self visit us, give us glimpse, give us a connection, give us knowledge, give us blessing, give us this enlightenment, this awareness, because simply we are the beginning of this higher self journey. So visit us to give us glimpse how we can touch the tree of life. And the tree of life is simply something like a huge tree, having all personalities, having all of our origin of our souls. And we are in touch with the higher self because higher self is the simple representation of divine, which you can contact with. And when we contact with, we know secrets. We know the truth. This is the third level of consciousness, which with it, we have new senses. In the lower conscious level, which is subconscious, we have darkness and silence and no senses at all. For this reason, subconscious is a very dangerous place. We need to be very powerful to enter. In the second level of conscious, which is conscious, we have only 5 senses. We can see, we can touch, we can taste, we can feel. That's it. We can listen. But in the super conscious level, we have, according to traditional esoteric teaching, 360 senses. 360 senses we can develop if we are pure enough to have a real contact with our higher self. So that's not the end of the case. We have actually another level. And this level is very important. We call it cosmic consciousness. No one reached cosmic consciousness. Maybe few try to touch cosmic consciousness. In the cosmic consciousness, we're not speaking about your personality or your private consciousness. No, this is something else. Here, you are not just a user in a network. You are the network itself. In this level of consciousness, you are the library. You are not a book. You are not choosing a sentence from the book. No, you are the library itself. According to this, you are the internet, for example. Now, we are just users, try to speak, to make a lecture in the different, actually, wide globe internet. But the internet itself is different, having a huge and numerous information, have huge and numerous plane, have a huge and numerous organization. When you are part of this ocean, you become actually in touch with everything in this ocean. To end this point, which is very, very important point, I'd like to share a picture with you. Let us discuss it. I think now we're going to have the ability to understand this wonderful topic of this picture. Just give me a minute. Okay. This picture is very important. Actually, this is a diagram. We call it the 7 worlds. Okay, can you see it? Everyone, can you see it? Okay. This diagram, 7 worlds, you can find it in a wonderful book called Cosmoconception, speaking about the cosmic consciousness. The writer is a very wonderful man, actually, called Max Handel. He already make a wonderful illustration of secrets of this universe in his book. He is a Rosicrucian. He's speaking this figure how we can develop or how we can actually touch these realms of presence, or the 7th dimension of heaven. First, we have, or what we call it, a physical world. And this physical world is actually from 2 partitions divided into chemical region and etheric region. The chemical region is supported by what we call it a dense body. And the etheric region is supported by a vital body. In the future, I hope we have time to meet and speak more details about the difference between these 2 regions and all of this stuff in detail, because it is very important. After having this physical world, we actually have another world or another body, we call it desire body. And this desire body is made from all 4 kingdoms of life. So in this desire body, we have actually 7 steps or 7 dimensions we can speak about. The region of passion and low desire, the region of impressionability, the region of wishes, which is repulsion, and the region of feeling, like interest and indifference, and the region of soul power, soul light, and soul life, which is attraction. Here we're speaking about something more higher in a spiritual understanding. As we spirits, we have 2 important adjectives or 2 important characteristics. We call it attraction and repulsion. Everything in this life, even spirit, have actually something we call it motion. In this motion, we can be close or be far away. This movement, this dual movement, is a very important characteristics of soul or spirit. And there is a great difference between soul and spirit. We're going to discuss this later. When this spirit move, when this spirit try to show us our characteristic, this duality from coming close and being far away, something happened in the realm of kingdoms. And when I'm speaking about realm of kingdom, I'm speaking about the following. The materialistic realm, which actually have 4 elements. And after this, we have plant kingdom, which is very important. And then we have animal kingdom. And then we have a human kingdom. In esoteric schools, we actually are the most perfect developed figure of this developing from all of these layers. And we have all of these layers. Everyone have a soul of seed. Everyone have a soul of animal. Everyone have a soul of material. And you should, in a specific level of your spiritual journey, to find out this material or this animal or this plant. Anyway, this picture, I'm going to forward it to Camilla. Maybe in the future lecture, we're going to discuss all of its detail because need a complete lecture actually to be studied. Okay. Now we are actually finished this consciousness level, which is very important. And this conscious levels is the same of this matter in the physical nature. We're going to speak about something else, a very important point. This point is the main point actually in all spiritual studies, which is story of creation. There is a lot of legends, there's a lot of myths. You can find Egyptian myths about creation. We can find a lot of stories. These stories have what we call it drama. And this drama represents a plot. This plot represents a symbol of a very important stuff, very important principle, which can control everything and can describe everything in a plain sight. But I'm going to choose this vision, theosophical vision of creation. The theosophical vision of creation actually simplify everything in one sentence or in one form. And I'm going to speak about this form because this is very important to understand how spirit work. In the first creation mythologies, they actually speaking spirits about air. And this air, this wind, tried to touch the surface of an ocean. This air or this wave, when touch the surface of the ocean, the movement appear, the movement manifest. And from this movement, a creature manifests. From this creature, he know himself. A very simple sentence, but actually have a very profound meaning. The wind or the air is actually the nature of spirit. The nature of spirit is very subtle. It's very weak. Something like a wind when touch ocean. This ocean, we call it in ancient Egypt, Noon, or the infinite ocean, which contain everything. But this ocean cannot manifest anything. Need something like excitation. Need something like a beginning. And this beginning happened with this wave. So, from this prospect, we can find a very important issue, which is spirit know nothing. Spirit know nothing. It is just breath of God, breath of divine, breath of cosmic consciousness, whatever we can call it. And we as a self is simply a manifestation of this collision. This collision between spirit and the surface of the water. From this concept, we can understand that everything manifest or appear is simply a projection, something like a hologram from different collisions of spirit with matter. But in the future, we're going to understand and know something very important, that even matter is a spirit. Even matter is a spirit fall down, condensed, like the salt of the ocean, which is going to condense at the bottom of the cup. From this concept, we can now understand that we are not human, we are a spiritual being having a human experience. By this human experience, we're trying to understand our origin, to reach the real us. Maybe we are developed, but we are developed in the inverse direction. This is very important. We are not getting out far away from the source. We are developing to reach the source. We are developing to manifest the source. And this is very important. I'm going to finish the lecture here because actually I take a lot of time, and I'd like to have a question. So any question you'd like to ask, I'll be with you. And thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to say for everyone listening that you can ask in German, I can translate, or
Yeah, please. Okay.
You
I'm
can
waiting
also
for
write
all
the questions in the chat.
Okay, take your time. I'm here to have any question. Okay, guys, revive me, revive me.
Yeah, I have a question. You were talking about your tradition, and I'm interested in what is your tradition?
My tradition, personal tradition?
Yes.
Actually, it was like a journey. Began with a scientific way. First of all, I studied extraterrestrial subjects or extraterrestrial researches. First of all, I tried to search if there is another intelligent in this universe. Maybe because my engineering prospect or engineering studying. But after this, I find something more important. I find something more valuable, actually, about the wisdom tradition. The wisdom tradition having many schools, and you should actually join one of these schools to understand all of these concepts. In the past, there is a mystic tradition of Egypt. In Egypt, they have something, we call it Ber Ankh. Ber Ankh means house of life. This house of life, you have these sciences, you have all of these concepts and all of this tradition. Of course, nowadays there is no house of life in the East. I'm speaking about ancient tradition. But this ancient tradition gradually having it in a different brotherhood. Brotherhood like Ikhwan al-Safa, Khillan al-Wafa, brotherhood of clarity, of pureness. It was very important brotherhood and take a lot of Plato traditions and Pythagoras tradition and combine it, develop it in a different way. And then we have another schools, which actually Western schools of traditions, Western school wisdom like Rosicrucian. I think Rosicrucian make a wonderful job and protect all of these concepts, all of this tradition. I already study my concepts and this tradition with Rosicrucian Amorc. Rosicrucian Amorc. I think there is a Rosicrucian Amorc in Australia and Graz, and in all the world actually there is many branches.
Yeah.
I found their teaching very profound, very profound. There is another schools, of course. There is a Theosophical school of Madame Blavatsky. She did a good job. There is a Sacred Doctrine, a wonderful book full of traditions and concepts. So it was a journey, just a journey. I take a rose from every place, and finally I combine it to make my own perspective. And this is very important. You must have your own perspective at the end.
Sure, yes. Thank you.
Most welcome. Your name?
Oliver.
Okay. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other question?
Hello. Any questions can be asked right now. Like it doesn't have to do anything to do with the topic. So it can be any spiritual questions that you have that can be asked.
Any questions, no problem.
In German, I can translate.
Yeah, là, tu peux venir.
Je suis en train de mettre tout sur la préparation.
I have another question. Actually, maybe you were talking about it and I was not there, but what is the ego for you?
What is what?
The
I don't
ego.
understand. The ego.
Yes.
Okay. The ego is very important. Okay, I'll tell you about the ego. You know, all spiritual schools are trying to understand spirituality in a different perspective. But in my opinion, ego transforms from level to other. So when you are speaking about ego, about personal attitude, about your thoughts, about your personality, all of this actually enters 3 phases. The first phase of ego, I call it the bad one. The bad one, which is very ignorant, full of illusion, full of old program from the subconscious. They're trying to exist, and at the same time, he have a very resistance. He's trying to make a resistance by making a balloon, very big balloon, and this balloon need to be shut down, need to be destroyed. But this is not the meaning of ending ego, no, at all. It is a beginning of another phase. We call it the transition from phase to phase. We call it initiation. Initiation is something like alchemical process which change the nature of ego from state to another state. The first state, as I mentioned, very weak, full of illusion, full of lies. But the second is like a wave, have no form. In this phase of ego, you become everyone. You want to help everyone. You want to see God or divine in your work, in your talent, in your art, in helping each other. And this is not the end of the ego. This is the second phase of ego. The third phase of ego, and this is very important because you must reach this level. You must reach this third level of ego, which we call it a divine ego. In this divine ego, you are not having a resistance with universe. You are in harmony with universe, and the universe choose you to be a new tool of his will. So with the divine ego, you have a choice. You have a wonderful, perfect free will. But at the same time, you have awareness of the truth, awareness of life itself. And you cannot reach this level of ego unless you pass from 1, 2, and 3. And you have initiation between 1, 2, and 3. A lot of spiritual masters, mentors, try to guide people to be silent, to settle down in the lake and dress white under the tree. All of this is illusion, by the way. This itself is illusion. No, spirituality is not like this. Spirituality is a full awareness of life, of being enlightened even in a battle, even in a war, under pressure, having the ability to gather all of this experience to make a new one. This new one is very close to the higher self. So the third phase of ego, which is divine, is very close to the higher self. That's it.
Thank you a lot.
Most welcome. Okay, another question. Where are you?
You have very good questions.
Yeah, I have another one actually.
Okay, I don't mind. Okay, give us your question.
But I'm not ready for this now at the moment. I just need to.
Okay,
Thank
take your
you.
time. There is no
Yes.
problem. Take your time.
Yeah, the reason why I asked about tradition is is more like a technical question.
Okay, there's no problem.
Because mm, in meditation, or let's try it the other way around. In my opinion, it is most important to evolve the heart center before evolving the spiritual realm or the
Yeah.
mind, or however you call it. Yeah. What do you think about that? Or how do you perceive this?
Okay. I can recommend a book. If you find it, it will be wonderful, actually, because this book describes this in detail. Maybe in the future we can having this book and speaking about it. This book is called The Flower, The Golden Flower of Soul. The Golden Flower of Soul is simply a Far East tradition, very rare papers speaking about how we can manifest our golden rose, or our golden spirit, our golden soul. In this technique, we using inhaling and exhaling, breathing, but at the same time, there is something about the intelligence of heart and how we can control it. I'm not going to enter to give you a technical. There's a lot of technical actually about techniques about this meditation. We already study in Salon, in Eastern Light Salon, and other lectures giving about it. But simply, I'm going to simplify it. Where is your soul? Your soul actually have two forms. First, we call it a primitive soul, or the prime soul, or alpha. This alpha is here, subtle here. Subtle actually in the physics of pine gland, all of this stuff. And this soul didn't move the forehead. We call it the principal soul, or the primitive soul. This soul is actually in the center between sun and moon. This side we call it sun. This side we call it moon. And this is heaven. And here is your spirit, your real spirit, your primitive spirit. But at the same time, there is another spirit. We call it emotional spirit, or life spirit. This life spirit here in your heart. It is wonderful actually, but need a little bit discipline, need a little bit systemized, need a little bit, what we can call it in English, trying to control it. Because this spirit is fake here in the heart. I know what I'm talking about is a little bit different than we can hear from lectures and can we hear from books, but this is the truth, in my opinion. Emotion needs something to be a guide, compass. And this compass cannot be done by emotion itself, because emotion itself is lost and needs this power, this divine. This divine can control this emotion. When it controls it, you have no fear. you have no beasts to control you, because you are already controlled by fear, controlled by illusion, controlled by fake emotion. We call it love. Love itself, no one understands love. No one can feel love. What we already do is simply a fake love. Love itself is in the heart of the heart, and you cannot enter this love, enter this heart, unless you have what we call it the power of the divine. To having the power of divine, you must have a compass. And to have this compass, you must understand the ethics of heaven. Okay, I'll tell you it's different. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't hurt anyone. Because if you do so, someone will going to punish you. All of this is wrong. All of this is wrong. It is not true. It's something you do it by your nature. You cannot steal. Your hand itself having something to it when you just have an idea of having a steal. So the ethics of divine give you the ability to personify all gods in you. When you do so, the primitive power, which is here, spiritual one, will guide this heart. At this point, your emotion will be very pure, very wise. Let us speak about Kabbalah. If we're speaking about Kabbalah, there is a wonderful figure. We call it Tree of Life. In this Tree of Life, it is already actually divided into circles or sephiros or ions or characteristics of God, 10 of them. At the higher part of this Tree of Life, we find 3 important circles. Chokmah, which is mean wisdom, and Nabah, which is mean understanding. Chokmah and understanding are simply the power of divine and the power of your heart, the power of the intelligence of your heart. But what can control this circle? The one who controls the circle, another circle at the head of the Tree of Life, we call it Kether, which is mean free will. So it is wonderful to have love. It's wonderful to have a good emotion, but you must have wisdom. Because without this wisdom, you cannot reach the most important circle in the Tree of Life, which is free will. Free will.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Okay. Clearly, no one have a question.
Another one?
Okay, there is no problem.
No.
Okay, Camilla, if, we can finish our meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. And thanks for the audience, and thanks for this wonderful meeting. Thanks for hand in hand to giving me this opportunity. And hope we can meet again, different meeting, and see you later. See you later. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you, everyone. See you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you all again. Bye-bye.